and welcome to the second part in this Anatomic Aligner tutorial series. In this video, we will be covering segmentation using Skull Engine and Anatomic Aligner and generating our 3D objects. To begin, when we have our patient file loaded in, we will select Segmentation/3D Models from the navigation menu. Let's first familiarize ourselves with these windows on the right-hand side and their functions. On top, we have masks. Masks are essentially a series of binary images which store our segmentation results. Here, we have various tools at our disposal such as create, delete, and edit, which we will get into with this segmentation. On the bottom, we have 3D objects. The point of this segmentation is to create well-edited masks that will be used to generate our 3D objects. We see the 3D object GyroMaker here by default, so do not edit or delete that. Again, masks allow us to separate and or categorize our segmentations in order to create a clean 3D model. With Skull Engine, we're able to send out our patient file and get back what is almost a perfect segmentation. I say almost because we still need to go through each slice within each mask to ensure that the mask selections are accurate. I will cut forward to our imported Skull Engine segmentation and go over cleaning up the masks using the mask editing tool. Now we have our results imported from Skull Engine. Our mask list has been populated. Each mask has a visibility toggle which we can turn on and off, a color, a name, and a low and high threshold. These threshold values are not visible because these masks have been automatically generated. Now there is one mask we are missing, which is our soft tissue mask, so let's generate that manually. Let's press on the Create a New Mask button. We see that this new mask detects everything within this threshold, which is bone, soft tissue, and more than we need. We're only looking to select all of the soft tissue. So let's press our Set/Adjust Threshold button, and under Predefined Threshold Set, let's find soft tissue. Now, we see that this isn't perfect, and in fact, it's entirely off for this particular scan. It's selecting everything but bone or soft tissue. No worries, let's edit that threshold again by clicking on the Edit Threshold button, and let's try adding about 1,000 to each side. We press OK, and now, well, that's better. If we scroll through these slides, or if we look in the coronal view, we're picking up a lot of debris from the CT scan, which is not soft tissue. So we're going to want to adjust that threshold one more time and tinker with it until that debris is unselected and we have a perfect selection of our soft tissue. See if we bring that slider in a little. We want to make sure we're not unselecting anything that actually is soft tissue. So we can slide through here. There's perhaps still some green right there, which is not soft tissue. If we move that over just a tad bit, we should be good. While the mask color and name are automatically assigned through Skull Engine, we will want to adjust those to convention and or preference. To rename a mask, we can double-click under the Name option. Let's change the name for the maxilla one to midface. Let's change our auto mandible to mandible, and upper here is going to be our upper roots, lower going to be our lower roots, and this newly generated mask, which we just made for the soft tissue, can be soft tissue. Now, the colors can be a bit of an eyesore, especially the ones that we have selected here. So we can use this color palette down here to change color of mask. I think soft tissue looks best with a lighter, almost neutral tone, so we can more clearly see the other masks. If we change lower roots now, which has the same color, to a red, now these are pretty easily distinguishable. Perhaps upper roots, if we make those a purple, now this looks pretty good. As I had previously mentioned, these automatically generated masks are not perfect. They either select too much or too little. Although the cleanup is minuscule, we will have to go through every slice individually to ensure that these masks are as accurate as possible. Let's go through an example here together by cleaning up our midface and mandible. I find it best to do this in the axial view as we get a top-down approach to this. If we look over here where our mandible starts, we can start to see some of that cyan attached to our mandible, and we don't want our midface and our mandible to be fused together when generating that 3D object. That would be bad. So let's start at the top slice of this issue, which appears to be here. We want to make sure we're selecting our midface mask, and let's toggle some of these visibilities off just to unclutter our space and zoom in to where the issue begins and hide the mandible, selecting the midface, and we're going to go through and delete that midface on the mandible. Using the Edit Mask tool down here in our mask tool options, we have a variety of tools at our disposal. We have a circle, a rectangle, a lasso, and a magic wand. We can adjust the width. It's a 50 wide circle versus 100 pixels wide. Let's keep this at around 30 so we don't over delete. We want to make sure our toggle is set to erase, which it is by default. We'll get to drawing and region threshold later. Now we can go through and delete all this midface from the mandible. I will speed this process up, but I will go through it with you guys. Now that we have successfully removed all of our midface from our mandible, if we toggle the visibility of our mandible back on, we can see that there are some portions of the mandible that have not been selected, especially where we deleted that midface, or what the software detected was midface. So we'll want to go back in and redraw all those regions as mandible. We can start from the root of this issue, which seems to be around here. We can zoom in to the problem, adjust our contrast and brightness as necessary, and having the mandible selected, we can click back on the Edit Mask tool, change our toggle to Draw, and I find the best tool to draw with is Lasso. Using the lasso, we can select what we want to add to our mandible, just clicking down and dragging, and we can go through each slice and complete our mandible. And I will speed this process up as well. Now that we have our accurate clean masks, we can generate our 3D objects. By clicking on the Create New 3D Object button under our 3D Objects panel, let's create a 3D model of our soft tissue. We'll want to ensure we have that highlighted. We can keep our rendering quality at high. The triangle reduction is okay, and so is the smoothing. So let's press on Calculate. After this is finished computing, we'll be able to view our 3D model here in the bottom right viewport. We'll get a pop-up menu asking us to define the name of the new model. We'll select on CT Soft Tissue, and we'll press OK. Here under our 3D Objects tab, we'll see the CT Soft Tissue model. It'll have a color, a name, a quality, and a transparency, as well as a visibility toggle. We can pan within the 3D model viewer by holding down Shift and right-click. We can orbit by just holding down right-click and moving around. We can zoom in and out using our scroll wheel, and we can adjust this transparency of the 3D model using the Adjust Transparency button down here and moving the slider. In the next video, I will go over creating our IANs and importing and